Thomas Farriner, a name forever etched in the history of London, is remembered as the unwitting catalyst behind the Great Fire of London in 1666. A baker by trade, Farriner lived and worked on Pudding Lane, a bustling street in the heart of London's commercial district. While his role in one of the city's most devastating events has often painted him as a figure of blame, Farriner's life and circumstances reveal much about the vulnerabilities of 17th century London and the conditions that led to the infamous fire. Farriner operated a thriving bakery that supplied bread to both locals and the Royal Navy, marking him as a respected tradesman of his time. The bakery was a typical wooden structure, tightly packed among other timber-frame buildings that dominated Pudding Lane and much of the city. These buildings were highly flammable, and the summer of 1666 had been particularly dry, creating a tinderbox environment across the city. In the early hours of September 2, 1666, a fire broke out in Farriner's bakery. Historical accounts suggest that an improperly extinguished oven sparked the blaze. The flames quickly caught hold of the wooden beams and straw-filled thatched roof of the bakery, spreading rapidly to neighboring buildings. Farriner and his family narrowly escaped the growing inferno by climbing out of an upstairs window. Tragically, a maid employed by the household failed to escape and became the first recorded casualty of the Great Fire. What began as a small accident in Farriner's bakery soon spiraled into an uncontrollable disaster. The fire, driven by strong winds and fueled by the dense wooden architecture of London, spread rapidly. Within hours, entire streets were ablaze and the city descended into chaos. Residents fled their homes, taking what few possessions they could carry. By the time the flames were extinguished 4 days later, over 13,000 homes, 87 churches, and numerous landmarks, including the medieval St. Paul's Cathedral, had been reduced to ash. Approximately 100,000 people were left homeless, making the fire one of the most catastrophic events in London's history. In the aftermath, Thomas Farriner became a central figure in the search for accountability. Some blamed him directly for the disaster, while others pointed to the city's broader vulnerabilities, including poor urban planning, overcrowding, and inadequate firefighting measures. Official investigations cleared Farriner of any malicious intent, ruling the fire an unfortunate accident. However, anti-Catholic sentiment led to widespread rumors that the fire was an act of arson, with some scapegoating foreign immigrants or Catholic conspirators, adding tension to an already chaotic situation. Despite the controversy surrounding him, Farriner resumed his baking business after the fire. Records indicate that he continued his trade for several years, although his reputation remained overshadowed by the event. The site of his bakery on Pudding Lane eventually became a symbol of the fire's origins. Today, the location is marked by the monument to the Great Fire of London, designed by Sir Christopher Wren and Robert Hooke, which stands as a reminder of the city's resilience and renewal following the disaster. Thomas Farriner's story is a lens through which we can understand the fragility of 17th century urban life. The Great Fire exposed the vulnerabilities of a rapidly growing city and sparked a wave of reforms in urban planning, fire safety, and architecture. The destruction led to the rebuilding of London with more fire-resistant materials, wider streets, and stricter building codes. It also inspired the creation of modern firefighting organizations and insurance companies, marking the beginnings of a safer and more structured approach to urban living. Today, Thomas Farriner is remembered not only as the baker of Pudding Lane, but as a key figure in one of London's most defining moments.